Hello YouTubers, welcome back to Yorkshire Media. I am Mark, your host, your presenter, whatever you want me to be. And yes I am, better and cheaper than the BBC. So, here we go. So, what are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about the co-ed killer, basically. This guy, that's what we're talking about. Edmund Kemper, that's what we're talking about, Kemper. That's what we're talking about today. So, Edmund Emil Kemper III, born December 18th, 1948, is an American serial killer who murdered 6 college students before murdering his mother and her best friend from May 1972 to April 1973. Following his parole for murdering his potential grandparents, Kemper was nicknamed the co-ed killer, as most of his victims were female college students hitchhiking in the vicinity of Santa Cruz County, California. He is noted for his height, 6 feet tall, 9 inches, so 6'9", 206, and his intellect, possessing an IQ of 145. Most of his murders included necrophilia with occasional incidents of rape. So, he's not a very nice guy. So, he was born Edmund Emil Kemper III, December 18th, 1948, age December 18th, 1948, Burbank, California, US. His age is, he was 73 at the time, his age. Other names: co-ed killer, co-ed butcher, or the Mad Titan, Big Ed, co-ed killer, I will put. Motive: possession, necrophilia. Convictions: first degree murder, times 8. Criminal charge: non-1964 arrest murder deemed incredible for 15-year-old to commit first degree murder. 8 times 1973 arrest. Penalty: life imprisonment, 8 times concurrent, so he didn't get the death penalty. Victims: 10. Span of crimes: 1964 to 1973. Country: United States. States: California. Date: apprehended August 27th, 1964. First arrest: April 24th, 1973. Second arrest: imprisoned at California Medical Facility. Born in Burbank, California, Kemper had troubled upbringing. His parents divorced in early life. As a child, he moved to Montana with his mother, Clarinel, who kept Kemper locked in their basement, which had been frequented by rats. He ran away to reunite with his father, but was left behind in Norfolk, California on Christmas Day in 1963, where at age 15 he murdered his parental grandparents. Following the murders, Kemper was briefly diagnosed with a paranoid schizophrenia by court psychiatrist and sentenced to Sacramento State Hospital as a criminal insane juvenile. Released at the age of 21, after convincing psychiatrists he was rehabilitated, Kemper was regarded as a non-threatening by his future victims. He targeted young female hitchhikers during his killing spree, luring them into a vehicle and driving them to scheduled areas where he would murder them before taking their corpses back to his home to be displayed and dismembered and violated. Kemper then murdered his mother, one of her friends, before turning himself into the authorities found sane and guilty, and his trial in 1973. Kemper requested the death penalty for his crimes. Capital punishment was suspended in California at the time, and he instead received 8 concurrent life sentences. Since then he has been in and created in the California medical facility in Vacaville. In terrible coincidence for the people of the greater Santa Cruz region, Kemper and Herbert Mullin overlapped in their 1972 to 1973 murder sprees, adding to confusion to the police investigation, ending with both being arrested within a few weeks of each other after the deaths of 21 people. So there you go. So that's Edward. Yeah, that's Kim. And I don't think there's much more I can go on there. I mean, Edmund Nemo Kemper was, but yeah, we done that. Release and time between murders. December 18th, 1969, his 21st birthday, Kemper was released in parole from Alexandria against the recommendations of psychiatrists at the hospital. He was released into the care of his mother, Clarinel, who had remarried, taken the surname Strandberg, and then divorced again at 609 Orch Street, California, a short drive from where she worked as an administrative assistant at the University of California, Santa Cruz, UCSC. Kemper later demonstrated further to his psychiatrist that he was rehabilitated, and on November 29, his juvenile records were permanently expunged. The last report from his probation psychiatrist read, "If I were to see this patient without having any history available or getting any history from him, I will think that we were dealing with a very well-adjusted young man who had initiative, intelligence, and who was free of any psychiatric illness. It's my opinion that he has made a very excellent response to the years of treatment and rehabilitation, and I will see no psychiatric reason to consider him to be any danger to himself or to any member of society, and since it may allow him more freedom as an adult to develop his potential, I will consider it is reasonable to have permanent expulsion of his juvenile records." While staying with his mother, Kemper attended community college in accordance with his parole and requirements, had hoped to become a police officer, though he was rejected because of his size at the time. His release from Alexandria, Kemper stood 6 feet 9 inches, which led him to his nickname Big Ed. Kemper maintained relationships with Santa Cruz police officer despite his rejection to join the force, and became self-described friendly nuisance at bar called the Jury Room, popular hangout for local cops. Kemper worked a series of menial jobs before gaining employment with the State of California Division Highways, now known as the California Department of Transportation. During this time, his relationship with Carnell remained toxic and hostile, the two having frequently arguments that their neighbours often overheard. Kemper later described the arguments he had with his mother around this time, stating the following: "My mother and I started right in on hundreds battles, just horrible battles, violent and vicious. I never been in such a vicious verbal battle with anyone. It would go to the first with a man, but this was my mother, and I couldn't stand the thought of my mother and I doing these things. She insisted on it, and just over stupid things. I remember one roof raiser was over whether I should have any teeth cleaned." When he had saved enough money, Kemper moved out to live with a friend in Alameda. There he still complained of being unable to get away from his mother because she regularly phoned him and paid him surprise visits. He often had financial difficulties which resulted in his frequently returning to his mother's apartment in Optus. At Santa Cruz Beach, Kemper met a student from Turlock High School to whom he became engaged in March 1973. The engagement was broken off after Kemper's second arrest, and his fiancee's parents requested her name not to be revealed to the public. The same year that began working for the Highway Division, Kemper was hit by a car while riding a motorcycle that he had recently purchased. His arm and was badly injured in the crash, and he received 15 equivalent to in 2021 settlement in the civil suit. He failed against the car drivers as he was driving around in the 1969 Ford Galaxy he bought with part of his settlement money. He noticed a large number of young women hitchhiking and began storing plastic bags, knives, blankets and handcuffs in his car. He then began picking up young women and peacefully letting them go. According to Kemper, he picked up around 150 such hitchhikers before he felt homicidal sexual urges, which he called his little zapples, and began acting on them. So, between May 1972 and April 1973, Kemper killed 8 people, all women. He could pick up female students who were hitchhiking, take them to isolated areas where he should shoot, stab, smother or strangle them. He could then take their bodies back to his home where he then performed the severed heads, sexually, the corpses, and then dismembered them. During this 11-month murder spree, Kemper killed 5 college students, on high school student, his mother and his mother's best friend. Frank Kemper was stated in interviews that he often searched for victims having arguments with his mother, and that she refused to introduce him to women attending to universities where she worked. He recalled she would say, "You're just like your father, you don't deserve to get to know them." Psychiatrist and Kemper himself have espoused this belief that the young women were surrogates for his ultimate target, his mother. On May 7th, 1972, Kemper was driving in Berkeley, and then he picked up 2 18-year-old hitchhiking students from State University of Mary and Anita Mary Lucius with the pretense of taking them to Stanford University. After driving for an hour, he managed to reach a scheduled wooded area near Alameda, with which he was familiar for his work at the Highway Department, without alerting his passengers that he had changed directions from where they wanted to go. It was there that was an handcuff and locked in the trunk, then stabbed and strangled to death, subsequently killing Lucius in a similar manner. Kemper later confessed that while handcuffed, he brushed the back of his hand against one of her breasts, and it embarrassed him, adding that was, he said, "Whoops, I'm sorry," something like that, after gazing her breast despite murdering her minutes later. Kemper put both of the women's bodies in the trunk of his Ford Galaxy and returned to his apartment. He was stopped on the way by police officers for having a broken taillight, but the officer did not detect the corpses in the car. Kemper's roommate was not in at home, so he took the bodies into his apartment where they photographed and had sexual intercourse with the naked corpses before dismembering them. He then put the body parts into plastic bags, which then later abandoned near Loma Prieta Mountain, before disposing of Piazza Luci's severed heads in ravine. Camper engaged in both of them in August that year. Skulls was found, a loma petita mal, and an extensive search failed to turn up the rest of the pieces. Remains a trace of Lucius. September 14, 1972, Camper picked up 15-year-old dance student. I'm not going to go through it all. That's disgusting. And it really was. So that's Edmund Camper the Third, aka the co-ed murder. That's what Edmund Camper. Other names, co-ed killer. That's what he was. He was the co-ed killer. I'm not going to go into that. Is too much detail in my mind. What I will do is release let's get to trial. Camper was indicated on 8 accounts of first-degree murder on May the 7th, 1973. He was assigned to the Chief Public Defender of Santa Cruz County Attorney Jim Jackson. Due to Camper's explicit and detailed confessions, his counsel's only option was to plead not guilty by reason of insanity to the charge Camper twice tried to commit suicide in custody. His trial went ahead on October 23rd, 1973. 3 court-appointed psychiatrists found Camper to be legally sane, and one of the psychiatrists, Dr. Joel Ford, investigated his juvenile records and diagnosed that he was one psychiatric thought. Also interviewed Camper, including under truth serum, and relayed to the court that Camper had engaged in cannibalism, alleging that he was sliced flesh from the legs of his victims and cooked and consumed the strips of in a casserole. Nevertheless, for determining that Camper was fully cognizant in each of the case, stated that Camper enjoyed prospect of the infamy associated with being labelled a murderer. Camper later reacted to confessions of cannibalism. California used the Norton standard, which held that for a defendant to establish a defence on the ground of insanity must be clearly proved that at the time of the committing of the act, the party accused was labouring under such a defect reason from a disease of the mind, and not to know the nature and quality of the act he was doing, or if he did know, it's that he did not know he was doing what was wrong. Camper appeared to have known that the nature of his acts was wrong, and he had shown signs of malice. Afterthought of November the 1st, Camper took the stand. He testified that he killed the victims because he wanted them for myself, like a possessions. Attempted to convince the jury that he was insane based on the reasoning that his actions could have been committed only by someone with a barren mind. He said that the two beings inhabited his body, and that when the killer personality took over, it was a kind of like blacking out. On November the 8th, 1973, the 6-man, 6-woman jury deliberated for 5 hours before declaring Camper sane and guilty on all counts. He asked for the death penalty, requested death by torture. However, with a moratorium placed on capital punishment by the Supreme Court of California, he instead received 7 years to life for each account, with these terms to be served concurrently, and was sentenced to the California Medical Facility in Buckville. So there you go. So there you go. So there you go. That's Edward Kemper. That's the Coed Killer for you. I'll leave it there for now. So, if you have liked that, please give me a thumbs up. Please like the video. Please subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell icon. That will let you know when I put up another video. Please share the video to your friends and your family. They may be here. And to our social media like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and Bing. And also use the comment section below and tell me your thoughts on the Coed Killer, Edward Kemper the third. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Right, so like I say, if you like that, so please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now. Bye. Catch you all later.